Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. Let's call the meeting to order at 7:02 p.m. Okay, first item on the agenda, item number 3, public comment. Is there any public comment? Is there any public comment? One last time, any public comment? Close public comment. Go ahead, Mr. Flynn.
For public comment, Michael Flynn, 85 Snowgrass Street, Seymour, Connecticut. This public comment is, it's open on any subject, right? Or is it?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I think Cherry Street needs to be looked at, you know. First of all, I know Karen brought out a while back about these large trees around town. You go up Cherry Street Hill, you have huge trees up there. One of those things gets struck by lightning, you're going to have somebody in a car up there, you're going to have a fatality. Another thing, I think that Cherry Street should be one way. If you drive up there from the area of Key Rights, and then you go to the intersection, even with a compact car, you really have to take a severe right turn or a left turn there. If somebody's coming down that hill, it's going to be a fatality, you know? Okay, now First Avenue, I've noticed when you go down past St. Augustine's, you take a right, and when you go on to First Avenue, there's a huge pothole there. Not so much a pothole, but it's a depression, you know? Looks like it needs some patch, you know? And if you go down here, right where we just come to the City Hall here, it's somewhat scandalous. You got potholes right there. Okay, that's all.
Is there any other public comment? Hearing no other public comment, move on to item number 4, approval of the minutes from our April 1st, 2014 meeting. Have a motion to do so?
So moved.
Motion by Len,
Second.
second by Nicole. Is there any discussion?
Just some typos.
Okay, whereabouts?
On page 5, item 13, the sentence says, if you have any questions, it should be or concerns.
All concurs. Okay.
And I'm sorry, on page 4, I guess it's item number 8. It says second Paul, should say Paul Roy.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. Leanne, you have those?
Yeah.
Any others?
No, just a comment, actually. I don't know if this is appropriate at this point or not, but I had sent an email out to the other board members. I'm not sure if you'd seen it or not. I believe it was to the town email addresses, so maybe you don't check it very often. But I made a recommendation, and I think it might behoove us as board members to try to fix these, you know, if there's a typo or a grammatical error or something like that that we see ahead of time, try to do that before the meeting rather than doing it during the meeting, just in the interest of keeping the public's time, rather than, you know, going through and saying, well, we're missing an N here in the word concerns, or the S in citing is incorrect or something like that. I think it would be more appropriate for us to only make substantive changes as opposed to grammatical or spelling changes during the meeting. That's why actually I had made several recommendations, and Leanna had actually changed them ahead of time before the meeting itself. So I'd like to encourage at least the other board members. I'm going to try to do that when we get the email packet ahead of time, so that those minor changes can be fixed ahead of time, and we can only focus on, or we could rather focus on substantive changes rather than the little things.
We can do that.
I'd like to agree with you, except I'm a trained high school teacher, and it's what I do.
I understand. I just think it's a better use of our time and the public's time if we try to do it ahead of time.
Absolutely. I agree with Glenn. It's great that we have you come in to do the grammatical errors, and it's appreciated, but it'll save time now at our meeting if we just do it. Shoot Leanna an email, or you can call her and say, listen, I found these errors, and we're going to talk about it now.
Well, I haven't seen these minutes online, so, you know, I picked the minutes up yesterday and read them and saw the omissions. I wouldn't have even brought it up, except Kurt always looks to me.
Well, I mean, we need to have the proper punctuation, spelling, thoughts in the minutes, so. But, I mean, if you get it ahead of time and you want to email in, we can keep track of the changes so everybody knows that's not a problem, and make sure we have those. Okay? Okay, item number 5, first selectmen's report. Um, Handed out in front of you, and maybe not tonight's the best night for the sake of time, but is the presentation that I did at the public hearing. We had a rousing crowd there that night. I believe we had 4. So I didn't do the full-fledged presentation, which in and itself is probably about a half hour. So I do a deep dive on a lot of the important issues of the town's finances. So if you'd like, I can go through this at the next meeting. I can go through this now, whichever you prefer, but I know Karen's got to scoot because she's got grandmother duties tonight, so maybe tonight's not the best night, but if you guys like, if you want to look at it, we can put it on the agenda for our next meeting. I can certainly go through and address any questions or concerns that anyone has. The reason I bring this up is, and again, it's the first part of my first selectmen's report. We had a bond rating call last week with S&P, which went extremely well. We're expecting our new rating on April 22nd. The feedback that we got from the examiners was extremely positive. A lot of the areas that we went over are in this report. I basically used this presentation with the rating agency, so it went very, very well. Just to continue on, I presented the state of the town's financial condition at the annual budget public hearing. Turnout was extremely low, and anyone interested in seeing a copy of the presentation, like I just mentioned, so that's there. I attended the CEO reception in Waterbury for the new Naugatuck Valley Council of Governments. The event gave everyone the opportunity to chat in a more social setting to allow people to get to know each other better. I thought it was a great kickoff event to officially bring the two councils together. I look forward to a very long and positive relationship for the town of Seymour. Attended the Greater Bridgeport Valley Metropolitan Planning Organization quarterly meeting to discuss transportation needs of the area. While our COG will be changing on 1/1/2015, our MPO will remain the same for the next few years. So while on the COG side, we will be with Waterbury, on the MPO side, we'll be with Bridgeport. So it's going to be, it's a well-thought-out plan by the state. Had the privilege of attending the Italian-American Legislators Dinner. It was a great opportunity to meet with several state leaders to discuss the challenges and issues that are facing Seymour and the direction that we are moving forward in. Attended a meeting with the Communication Commission, Seymour Police Department, and Northeast Communications to discuss the ongoing communication issues facing the town. We left the meeting with some action steps that will be taken over the next few years to improve the situation and provide our emergency personnel with a better communication system. Then finally, I had the chance to run in the Easter 5K in Derby to benefit Umbrella. It was a great time to benefit a great cause, and I'm just happy that I was able to finish. So, okay, with that, I'm still here. So, okay, with that, I will close the first selectmen's report. Okay, I'd like to make a motion to add to the agenda discussion of possible action regarding letter to DOT Commissioner Redeker regarding Cedar Street's fencing issue.
So moved.
Motion by Len, second by Nicole. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Chair votes aye. Motion passes 6-0. Next item on the agenda, discussion of possible action regarding letter to DOT Commissioner Redeker regarding Cedar Street fencing. You should all have a letter in front of you. This issue was brought to my attention by Len about the fence. As you know, Len is our representative to the Public Works Board. This was discussed last night with them in great length. So Len, if you want to give us a little update and detail on that conversation, and we'll go from there.
Sure. Essentially, I'm sure many of you probably have driven down Cedar Street and actually Derby Avenue as well, both in the commercial zone and the residential section. There's an old fence that I believe was erected probably around the time, or maybe at the time that Route 8 was put in. It's been there for decades, and it's so old that in many places trees have actually grown into it and around it, and essentially it's fallen apart. It's an issue that actually, when I was a state representative, I brought up to the Department of Transportation to ask them to repair or replace the fence itself. No action was taken. I think occasionally they'll come out and put a new section up, which will immediately fall apart. So long story short, we discussed this last night at the Public Works meeting, and Craig Stevens has actually had conversations with our local area Department of Transportation representatives. Apparently they've claimed that it's the town's responsibility, which is historically has not been true. At the meeting last night, we all decided that maybe it's time for the town to take the next step. I actually drove down today, I took some pictures of the fence. There's a very large section on Cedar Street in particular that's come down. It's actually laying on the ground. In my opinion, it's a safety hazard. People's pets, I'm sure, have been hit by cars on Route 8 just running through the fence there. But the thing that scares me the most is somebody's 2-year-old kid running out the front door and making a beeline for the highway because it's available. The State Department of Transportation has had no interest in fixing this, so I think that the town, we as the Board of Selectmen, I think it's time for us to officially request that fence be addressed. I know it's not a big issue, but, or at least from the state's perspective, it's not a big issue, but to us, in my opinion, it is a big issue. Not to mention the fact that it looks terrible. And, we have the Seymour Pink 5K that runs in that area. It's an embarrassment to the town, in my opinion, and, it needs to be addressed. So I took the liberty this afternoon, I drafted a letter that we can all take a look at. I think either Rory's passed it out or maybe it's in front of you right now. That hopefully, if we can all agree on it, sign the letter, send it off to the Commissioner of the Department of Transportation directly, and try to get this thing resolved.
Yeah, I'll just read the letter. Dear Commissioner Redeker, we are writing to you to address potential hazards which have developed in the town of Seymour due to a lack of maintenance to a section of fencing owned and maintained by the State Department of Transportation. The fencing, which was installed decades ago, runs parallel to Route 8 through the town of Seymour, adjacent to several residential neighborhoods and a highly visible commercial zone. The fence in the area of Cedar Street and Derby Ave in Seymour has fallen into a state of disrepair that many sections have fallen down, broken apart, and deteriorated beyond repair. This, as you can imagine, poses a significant safety hazard to household pets, which often wander onto Route 8 through the damaged fence and are struck by traffic on the highway. Most importantly, there exists a serious concern that small children can easily enter onto Route 8 through the fence, which is no longer an adequate safety barrier in that area. Finally, the fencing that runs along the commercial zone in Derby Avenue in Seymour has also fallen into disrepair and poses similar safety concerns, in addition to the fact that it has become an impediment to effective economic development in the area. Representatives from the Seymour Department of Public Works and the Connecticut General Assembly have raised these concerns numerous times over the years, but the fence has not been adequately repaired. Therefore, the Seymour Board of Selectmen is formally requesting that the State Department of Transportation replace the fencing in question. In the interest of public safety, we believe that the state of Connecticut should address these concerns as soon as possible. We have attached photographs of the fencing in question to better illustrate our concerns. Thank you for your prompt attention to this matter. Sincerely, and it will have all 7 of our signatures, assuming we all agree with this statement. So, anybody have any questions or comments?
I agree with Len wholeheartedly on this. It's really is something that really needs to be, or should have been addressed a long time ago. There's no doubt about it. We've all noticed that different sections, whether from cars hitting, trees falling, whatever, or just old age, it really does need to be replaced. And I do believe it's the state's responsibility to replace it, and not the town of Seymour.
Oh, absolutely. And that one section just past Rose Street now, where it's basically just completely wide open now.
Thanks for taking the lead on this.
Sure. Okay, so I'll ask for a motion to approve the letter as presented, but before we do that, Rory has an official copy, which don't leave without signing. Okay, so he'll have all 7 signatures on it. It'll be good if, and we'll track, Anne Marie's sick tonight, but we'll have her sign that tomorrow, and then we'll get that out in the mail for the holiday. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to present to Commissioner Redeker, the Connecticut Department of Transportation, the letter as presented by Selectman Green.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Al, second by Karen. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Chair votes aye. Motion passes 6-0. Thanks for your work on that one. Item number 6, discussion take possible action on the setting of the annual town budget meeting for Monday, April 21st at 7 p.m. at the Seymour Middle School. The reason we need to move the date is the registrars had some concerns about getting the ballots prepared in time for the first referendum vote. We had some conversation with Rich,
something that Rich said, that we would be responsible, go get the vehicle and bring it back. In the essence of time, couldn't some agreement be made to meet for those
Yeah.
folks at least halfway? I mean, by the time you get to North Haven and back, situation may be over. It may be escalated, I mean, it's something to consider. I don't know how we can work that into an agreement. That's something obviously you have to discuss with them.
I am sure the police chiefs
Mhm.
Yeah, I think if
will
there was
work
an
that out
emergency
in
and
a
they call,
Yeah.
cooperative
Yeah,
basis.
I would,
I'm
and,
sure they would
The
try.
Yeah.
concept is, if North Haven has control of the vehicle, then it's their responsibility. If they loan it out, like
Yeah.
you loan your
I
car to your
understand
neighbor,
that, yeah.
then it's,
Yeah.
so, in terms of, the agreement literally reads, and there's a form attached to the department that's picking up the vehicle. That's how it's been put together, but I'm sure the police chiefs, will cooperate in terms of,
I'm sure if something went down where we required a vehicle like this,
Yeah.
we would require manpower as well. And
Yeah.
I would hope that North Haven would not only send a truck, but several of their trained tactical
good.
guys or people.
don't forget the state police have certain capability also, so.
What is it used for? I mean, what's the purpose of it? I mean, North Haven isn't exactly a hotbed of crime.
The Elanco Bearcat?
What is
It's
it
an
used?
armored
Yeah.
tactical response vehicle
Yeah.
designed for deployment by a police special weapons and tactical team, special response
So
team,
it
or
drives
tactical
through
unit,
something.
also known as a SWAT team.
And the SWAT team gets called in for, I would assume, hostage situations or something like that? I mean, I guess I can't fathom when we need it, but I'm glad we have the
I can give
opportunity
you
to have it.
just
We
some
need it.
background. SWAT teams are utilized for a variety of situations, including the execution of high-risk search warrants.
Oh, okay. I mean, we do have, as you know, the ESU team is back now.
And the rescue.
They have a truck, but they don't have anything to this caliber.
Do you?
And also, we had a mock tragedy at the high school in August, and a vehicle like this might have been helpful where a bomb went off